let's just dive right into this, shall we? If you're tuning into this explainer right now, I'd bet good money you've got about a million tabs open in your brain. You know exactly what I mean, right? You're probably juggling deadlines, replaying some weird conversation you had yesterday, worrying about tomorrow, or maybe you're giving your thumbs a serious workout doom scrolling through the news. Or hey, maybe you're aggressively typing out one of those passive-aggressive emails. Look, we are all incredibly busy, and frankly, we kind of feel trapped in our own heads most of the time. But today, we're going to look at a totally fascinating set of insights that point to an immediate, built-in escape hatch from that mental trap. And the best part? It doesn't require any apps, no special equipment, definitely no monthly subscriptions. We're going to explore how grounding your wandering mind is, quite literally, entirely in your hands.
Hands are the first thing we use, and the last thing we think about. I really want you to just let that paradox sink in for a second. I mean, think about what your hands have done just today alone. They've typed out messages, gripped a steering wheel in traffic, held your morning coffee, they've cooked, they've maybe patted a pet or hugged a loved one, and yeah, they've probably clenched into fists at least once out of sheer stress. They are constantly in motion, constantly working for us. Yet, unless they're actually in pain, we almost never really feel them. We completely ignore the exact tools we use to interact with the world. Crazy, right?
Which brings us to section 1, the disconnect from the body and living entirely in the mind.
So our total ignorance of our hands actually points to a much, much bigger issue. Because we rarely feel our physical selves, we end up living entirely upstairs, in the mind. We basically exist in this state of constant buzzing mental hyperactivity, floating somewhere above our shoulders, completely detached from our physical presence. To really get this, let's look at this definition of everyday dissociation. Now, to be clear, we are not talking about clinical pathology here. We're talking about that super common everyday feeling of nobody being home. Think about your typical everyday functioning mode. You know the one. You're rapidly firing off emails, planning out the week, managing your anxiety, just knocking out task after task. You're moving fast. Sure, your body is physically sitting in the chair, but you aren't really there. The signals from your body are completely muffled, kind of like someone turned the volume knob all the way down. And honestly, this happens to us daily when we're too tired, too anxious, or just way too busy.
Okay, let's move to section 2, a simple physical test for finding the present moment. So how on earth do we fix this? How do we turn that volume back up? Okay, I'm going to ask you to actually break the fourth wall with me here for a second and truly participate. Right where you're sitting, just follow along. Step 1, place your hands flat on the table in front of you, or, just let them rest naturally on your lap. Just place them there. All right, step 2, truly notice the surface texture beneath your palms. What do you actually feel? Is it warm? Is it cool? Is it smooth wood? Maybe rough fabric? Do you feel a little tingling in your fingers? Or maybe some hidden tension in your wrists? Or do you feel absolutely nothing? Look, if you feel nothing, that is totally okay. It just means you haven't visited this room of your body in a long time. Now, step 3, I want you to slowly clench your fists and then release them. Let's do that again. Clench and release. Really feel that literal physical difference between holding tension and just letting it go.
That brings us to section 3, the science of self-touch and the biology of feeling safe.
Okay, so why does that incredibly simple physical test actually work to calm us down? Because it does. And it's not magic, and it's definitely not just a distraction. There is some profound biology and psychology at play here. When we bring our attention to our hands, we're pulling our attention right back into the body. And the body, unlike the racing mind, is literally the only place that always exists in the exact present moment. But there's also this amazing biological mechanism of safety that we trigger when we do this. The absolutely crucial thing to understand here is oxytocin. We almost always hear about oxytocin as the cuddle hormone, right? Like it's released when we hug someone else. But studies actually show that the soft pressure and warmth of your own hands, resting on your body, like putting a hand over your heart or resting it on your stomach, stimulates the exact same oxytocin production. The truly fascinating biological truth here is that your body, well, it doesn't even care whose hands they are. It simply reacts to the comforting touch. It reads that physical gesture as, okay, someone is here and I am supported. It's literal, instantly accessible physiological support.
And honestly, this just brilliantly illustrates the two totally different states of our nervous system. Look over at side A, threat and anxiety. When we feel threatened or stressed out, our hands are practically the first responders. They clench up, they fidget with random objects, they grasp. They go straight into action mode, desperately looking for something to fix or fight. But then, look at side B, safety and presence. When we consciously choose to let our hands rest completely still, just feeling the surface right beneath them, we're sending a direct, undeniable signal straight to our brain. We are literally telling it, hey, I have nothing to do right now. I have stopped. It is safe here. You are literally flipping the switch from action mode right over to presence mode.
Moving into section 4, an anchor to reality, touching the physical world. You see, hands don't just ground us back into our own physical bodies. They act as our absolute primary interface with the physical environment around us. When your psyche starts sprinting away into all that internal noise, when the thoughts are just swirling, the anxiety is mounting, and you feel entirely lost in your own head, a hand deliberately placed on a real, tactile surface acts like a literal rope pulling you back to reality. Touching a wooden desk, the rough bark of a tree outside, the denim of your jeans, or even just holding a cold glass of water, it gives your brain undeniable, concrete data. It cuts right through all that abstract anxiety with physical truth. It's like a small, heavy anchor in a storm of thoughts.
And there's actually another really beautiful layer to all of this: body memory. Our hands hold the physical memory of our entire history. Really think about it for a second. Your hands hold the memory of the objects you played with in childhood, the people you've held closely, the countless hours of daily work you've accomplished over the years. All of those experiences, they aren't just filed away up in your brain somewhere, they literally live in the physical tissues and the nervous system of your hands. So when you pause to consciously feel your hands, you're doing something huge. You are reconnecting with your own tangible history. It's just a profound way to remind yourself of exactly who you are right in this very moment.
Which leads us to section 5, the power of micro-moments and finding change in the ordinary.
So how do we actually apply all of this? Because, knowing the science is great and all, but actually living it is what truly matters. We really need to look at how we can institute this change in the ordinary, completely unremarkable, super busy moments of our daily lives. A lot of times, when people hear, hey, just put your hands on the table and feel them, they immediately brush it off. We've all got this built-in bias that assumes complexity equals effectiveness. We think we need some massive, life-altering intervention to feel better. Now look, to be completely clear here, long-term inner work, therapy, dedicated meditation practices, those are incredibly valuable. But true, persistent change, that stuff happens between those big sessions. It happens in the ordinary micro-moments of a random Tuesday afternoon. Simply placing a hand on your knee, truly feeling your palm, and taking one conscious breath, that is the actual fabric of change. Do not distrust the extreme simplicity of this practice.
Because the reality is, it takes less than 1 minute, less than 60 seconds to establish a quiet moment of self-contact. It takes less than 1 minute to completely shift your nervous system from a frantic, overwhelmed action mode right into a calm, grounded presence mode. You can literally do it in a boring meeting, sitting in rush hour traffic, or right before you drift off to sleep. Just 1 single minute.
And finally, section 6, questions for your reflection and taking this forward. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with some introspective takeaways drawn directly from our source material. And hey, these aren't just questions to briefly glance at. They are designed to help you actually take this practice forward into your week. Take a moment to genuinely ask yourself, when was the very last time you truly paid attention to your hands? And I don't mean paying attention to what they were doing or typing, but to what they were actually feeling. Do you have a habit of touching or fidgeting with specific things when you start to feel anxious? And if so, why those specific objects? Where does tension usually live in your body? And is there maybe a connection between that tension and your hands? And finally, what does the phrase, holding yourself, mean to you, both physically and emotionally?
Your hands are already here. You are already here. It really just takes a moment to notice it. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to carry with you today. Just look at your hands. Right now, what do they feel?